Welcome back, you guys.
Yeah, City Culture, episode 6.
Nice.
We are just rolling along in this season 1.
You know what this means. We're halfway through the season.
That means we should begin our season 2.
Yeah, and you know what happened today that you don't know about?
What?
I got the better camera. You've had the better camera all season. So second half of the season.
That's what happens when you get here early, Sarah, and not right at 10 o'clock.
No, it's only because Jesse's on and he wanted to look better. All right. So, Ray, you want to introduce our guest?
Yes. So I'm really excited to introduce my guest today is Tiffany Murdock, who is the CEO of the Singing River Health System. And she lives in Ocean Springs.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think the first time I met you, Tiffany, I think it was just like passing on the street and you're like, hey, and I was like, hey, and then we became friends.
Yeah. I think I remember last year's State of the City.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right before that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your role in the Singer Health System, about you living in Ocean Springs, and just about Tiffany.
We want to know everything. Now are you sweating?
Yes, exactly. So I've been with the health system for almost 8 years now.
Yeah.
And we live in Ocean Springs, which has been phenomenal, but I've been the CEO now 16 months, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
I got recruited from California. So I was in California for almost 10 years in Northern California, in Oregon. And
Beautiful area.
oh man, it's so nice. The wine's amazing.
The wine's
And
amazing.
the food.
I hear a trip in our future.
Yeah, or like a second home.
Second home.
I need to get on that page.
Yeah.
And so got recruited out here. I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama.
Oh,
I was
okay.
a nurse by background and went and got my doctorate out at University of San Francisco and came back
Nice.
here. And so Singing River Health System is the second largest employer in Jackson County,
Yeah.
4,000 employees, first female CEO for the health
Whoop,
system,
whoop.
which is a
That's
pretty...
amazing. Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's big.
It's good for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty amazing. And what we're doing right now, I mean, we just had our March board meeting, and the things that we're doing, the growth that we're having, if we can get them to Ocean Springs, like if it's a physician or an executive or any type of provider, if we can get them here, they want to stay forever. So it's pretty
Perfect.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
I think one of the things that attracts me to you, Tiffany, as a leader is like every time I hear you speak, every time I see you, you're just the most down-to-earth person. You're like, hello,
Calm.
you want more babies. Like that is not for you personally,
Oh, wait,
but like
I
in
was wondering.
society.
No, not for me. Two and done.
Two and done. But you're just so, it's just some kind of warmth that comes with you, and it's great, and it feels good to have a leader like you in Ocean Springs in our health system in Jackson County, but specifically in Ocean Springs, that people are like, we'll see you walking on the street. You know,
Can
I
relate
see you at
to.
the homecoming parade with your kids and you're waving to people. It's just that connection. I think it's just so great to see.
Well, thank you. That is probably, you ask my team, what the Tiffany you get in the boardroom is the Tiffany that you see at Mosaics, or
Right.
if you see on the street doing the run or whatever. And I don't know if I could be any different. It's not like my kids and my husband are kind of my true north and my center.
Yeah.
And so they get the same Tiffany, good, bad, or ugly, which is, don't ask them. Don't
Don't
ever
ask
bring them here to ask them. But it is, and I think Ocean Springs allows that. I think community is really important to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that I get to, have the accountability. And I tell my doctors this, that you're going to see the people that you saw in the hospital, at Winn-Dixie or Rouse's or wherever that is that you're shopping or going to eat. And so
Right,
there's
that's
an
small town
accountability.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
very important.
That's great. Well, we're
We-
glad you're here.
Thank
Yeah, and we
you.
definitely want to dive more into some of the things you've just brought up. But before we get into that, I want to introduce my guest, Jesse Hill.
Hi.
He's the CEO. I'm just kidding. He is the owner of Hilltree Marketing. He is a partner here at the Mary C. Him and his team run our media hub here, where they offer services like podcasting and recording and photography shoots and any of your media needs, web, marketing, all the things.
That we do.
You both have incredibly intense jobs. You have staffs to run, whether they're 400,000.
400
Million, 400 million. No,
400
just kidding.
400,000 employees.
4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
I thought you
Girl.
said 400. Well, it's like a hospital system.
But I will
so
put-
it's
I'll put that on my
really
resume now.
open. She's the
Add some extra
president
zeros.
of America. No, I'm just kidding. But Jesse, your staff is probably about 8 people.
Yes, about 8 people. It's a group of creatives, so we're always getting
Constantly
into. I
honing
mean, if you look
in.
at the services we offer, you actually notice it's a wide range because we can do a lot, but also
Right.
we like to piddle in a lot of things. So
But so you're kind of in your career where you're building your staff because you can't do it all by yourself.
no, I can't.
You're learning that this year, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
And your staff is a lot of really strong-minded women, which I love, and they're whipping you into shape. I see it every day. They're getting you in your schedule.
I had 2
They're-
sisters. I had a mom, and they were all like my mom was a teacher, so I had teachers who were like moms. So I was raised and guided by women. So it actually is. It's a good thing.
Hey,
You're welcome.
Yeah, and leaders, they want to be guided sometimes. They want to be, they want the follow-up and the questions asked back to them. So that's how you grow your team.
That's right. That's right. And it's a solid team too. Like we're running around this Gulf Coast all the way from, and we really focus on the main 3 counties. I mean, we will go to New Orleans. We have some in Panama City, but it's like these main 3 counties that we can get to. The communication, the timeliness, the quality that we offer for the 3 coastal communities is, to me, it's unmatched down here.
Yeah.
But that's just, I mean, I'm a little biased, but still.
Jesse, tell us where you're from originally and how long you've been in Ocean Springs.
I was born in the Ocean Springs Hospital in
awesome.
1990, and then I
90s babies.
that's right. We moved to the country, which is now not country anymore. It's like right at the beginning of Latimer, so about 30 seconds north of exit 50, and it's all being industrialized now. So, born and raised there, and I love Ocean Springs. I love the feel of Ocean Springs. Always have. My grandmother was at the Villa Maria.
Yeah.
Like that. So that's where she was at. I mean, that's where I spent the millennium. That when the New Year's, I spent my 2000 year. I'll never forget it in that building. So Ocean Springs has always been near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So both of you have growing careers here right now. You are from the South, Tiffany,
Yes.
but you're just now kind of working here officially over the last 8 years, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So in the last 8 years, Ocean Springs has changed a lot, right,
Yes.
guys?
That has.
And also, we've just gone through a pandemic. There's been a lot to recover from. I think it's shown us a lot of what is necessary versus what's not necessary, and also like where our focus needs to be, how to prioritize. So, running staffs and having big responsibilities. How do you guys adjust with the world into your bubble of a career? When it comes to making large decisions, is it something you pull your people in? Are your people your staff? Are they outside of that? So how do you guys deal with big change happening with the world and continuing to make your business successful in that?
You want to? I can go.
I want to hear this answer.
Oh no. I mean, I think for me, my team, which my team is my Senior River Health System executive team, and then it extends out from there from an employee standpoint, and then my family as well. And so those decisions, I feel like I surround myself with people who really know what they're doing. I don't know everything, and I think that's like the first thing you have to admit as a leader is that you can't know everything. And so you surround yourself with experts. So you make those decisions, and it's it's not always going to be like, okay, well, I agree with you or not. I don't want people at the table that are always going to just say yes, Tiffany, because that's not a sustainable model from a leadership standpoint. And we really teach resilience. People make fun all the time of like, oh gosh, the generations today with their work-life balance, situation. But what I've realized through this pandemic and even afterwards, it's not just generational. People need that work-life balance for the resilience to make the big decisions. Because someone came in the office yesterday and was like, I'm busy, but I wasn't busy like pandemic busy. And I'm almost in a traumatic situation because of that. And we have to retrain our brains that it's okay, because we're not going to make really good decisions for the future of our people if we don't step back and say, okay, like put the oxygen mask on us first.
Yeah.
Self-care,
Yeah.
so we
Right.
can take care of everybody else.
I love what you said about retraining your brain. I think that that's the important point here. We have to do that over and over and over as we're going through situations that are traumatic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if we're not realizing it and in the moment, and then you come out of it and you're like, man, why do I just feel so heavy?
Yes.
Why is that so much harder for me now? You know, it's that moment when you know you have to like take that for yourself and retrain your brain. I like that.
Yeah. And I also like what you said about surrounding yourselves with people who are experts. It's a theme that the mayor uses all the time, that you can't possibly know everything. Like you know, and so, but you surround yourself and you trust those people.
Correct.
Like trusting them to give you, you know, their opinions because, you know, they're experts.
Yeah.
Because if you don't allow them to do what they do well, they're going to leave and
Exactly.
find somewhere who will let
Allowing
them do that.
leaders be leaders is so important
Yeah.
as the dominant leader.
The
So we'll
top
talk about
leader.
delegating in a minute. Jesse, we want to hear. I need advice. No. Jesse, I
This
wanna
is a
hear-
therapy session for
It-
Sarah.
that is literally next season. We should add therapy in our city
Heck
culture
yeah.
therapy. Okay, so Jesse, you tell us.
If
Your
I'm
version.
just trying to remember the question, but I think I got
We
it.
always do this. What's the
No,
original?
no, but
question?
I think I got a hold of it.
Okay.
Like what I've learned. And ask me the question again. I'm so sorry.
I
Okay.
thought you
I
had
forgot
it.
to. I don't even know if I answered the question.
You did answer the question.
I'm not gonna lie. I'll be behind the camera and I will listen to this, and because I'm watching things, and somebody might ask the question, and I'll hear the response, and then the other person will be like, "What was the question?" I'm like, "Pay attention, dude. I just fell for it."
So don't be judging.
That's right. That's right.
So we have a lot of change in our world.
Mhm.
And we're all
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
move forward with
Got
our careers, our day to day, our staff, delegating to our staff. When things are changing in a big way, how do you manage to successfully move forward with your own decisions and your staff for your business?
I'll tell you this, especially in our industry, it's changing drastically because AI is coming, so that's a big deal, especially with web design, editing photos and videos. I mean, they have these things now where you can, write code, things like that. That's the big change coming.
Don't tell all the secrets.
Oh, no, I'm not going to. But I've learned this, and just like you said, like, I don't know everything. I don't touch photography. I always knew that. Videography, I fell into, and I fell in love with it. So that's something I love to do. Web design is something I love to do, but like photography, even social media, it's not my favorite. So I've learned to just trust and to not, like, they are the professionals at that. I can make the deals, but I have the people I know behind me, the personnel that's going to get that job done and do it right. But when it comes to managing that, I've always been this type of person. I do. Like, I just do, and I go head on, and I am going to make mistakes. I still do, but I learn from those mistakes, and I'm watching my team do that to where I know the mistakes that I've made. So I try to say, hey, just try to avoid this. And if they make that mistake, it's just a learning thing. And it's really cool to watch that, because I was that like 3-4 years ago, making those mistakes. Okay, you got to transfer a domain to a new website. Well, you do that. Well, guess what? 50 emails just went down. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Now I know how to transfer a domain to a website properly. Like
Right.
something like that I've learned. And I
You
can
just got to learn the hard way.
yeah, and that's what I've learned. If you learn the hard way, it brings a lot of experience. And with that experience, you can price yourself better, because you're like, okay, I have that behind my belt
Oh yeah.
So
for
that's
sure.
a very vulnerable situation when you make mistakes in front of your staff.
all day.
And then you got to
Exactly.
regain their trust somehow, because you know how like groups of people can just like infiltrate a thought, and then you're like, man, it just took me a week to undo that thought. Like, everything's fine, we all still have it together.
But I think the transparency of making the mistake allows them to trust you, because I think that's the more you let people in, the more they are allowed to trust you. I think we learned that over the past year with this sell the health system, is that
Right.
everything was so in cloak, like, oh gosh, what's happening? And the moment I got in, I was like, Shannon Wall, our chief marketing, I was like, we're going to kick the doors open. Like, we want people to see this. And that gave us trust for people.
So tell us a little bit about, you're leading this executive team. What would you say is your leadership style?
I mean,
I like that question.
that is a really good question. So I feel like I have a democratic style. I mean, we meet actually every 2 weeks to meet for 2 hours to go over strategy. And I mean, I do think that at the end of the day, I'm responsible, for the entirety of the system. So if I feel very, strongly or, sometimes passionate is a bad word, but passionate about something, I will put it out there. But at the end of the day, if we all can't come to a consensus in that room, then what are we doing for everybody else? So I allow for that, kind of everyone give their, spiel and we run by facts and data and things like that. But, so I don't think there's no like delegative thing. I mean, during COVID, if there was something that had to be done really fast paced, I mean, it was like, okay, we're all wearing masks tomorrow. Like this is what's going to happen.
Wow.
But is there like a vote, or is it like you listen and you take from?
Yep, we listen
from your
and
board.
Yeah, we listen and have the conversation, and we ultimately report up to really 2 different boards, which is the board of trustees at the hospital and the board of supervisors.
Right.
So we bring those decisions and say, this is, what we recommend. These are our resolutions, but there's no vote, but we all really just come together and say, these are our 4 pillars, our strategies. This is what we're going to do in all of those. But I don't come in and say, our strategy on employees, this is what we're going to do. You good? Okay. We're,
good?
like,
So that 2-hour meeting, that's with your main staff, and then they go out to their teams.
Correct.
And that happens every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
That's your staff meeting. You don't have a weekly staff meeting.
No, so we probably see each other every single day, but we have so every 2 weeks we sit down for 2 hours. My executive team, there's 12 of us. And then every month, or actually every quarter, we go offsite for 8 hours and just pick 2 things and say these we're going to make decisions on these today and implement. And
this
then
is good advice. Even this is good advice.
And then we move.
Team.
And then we meet with our 200 leaders.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
In your own way, you have it. Yes, you do. Okay. Anyways,
But then we meet with our 200 leaders, and then they get it out to their staff. So it's just a ritual that we make sure we get in front of people.
And then how often do you meet with your staff?
We don't meet a lot. We are very remote, and that's why people want to work with us because we're remote workers. I mean, if your laptop can go with you, if your camera can go with you, we're all contractors really, so it's not like a W-2 thing. It's but we work closely together on projects. I'll get the calls usually. Hey, we need a photo session. Hey, we need a new website. Hey, can you run our social media? Hey, we want to start a podcast. I get that message across to the person I feel like would fit best, and I'll walk with them. Mm-hmm. Besides photography, I'll just call Aria or Paige and be like, hey, you got to do this.
You got to do this.
But also my leadership style, I would say, is a dictatorship. I'm just playing.
I was like, how are we going to spin this positively?
No. It's almost like it's a democratic. It's definitely because it's what a democracy. Sorry.
It just made me think about something that happened yesterday. Basically, this woman came up to me and she wants to do a program here, which I'm always open for anybody's ideas, but it's like a death group, and they just talk about death, and it's not a negative thing. Like it's like to educate people about death and like the history of it, and then there's activities. And I was like,
really,
and I was like, I was really listening to her and taking it in, and I was like, I'm considering it. Like I really am considering it. So
Culture.
I was gonna listen to your dictatorship leader style.
I was just messing. So like I try we're all professionals in our own lane, but we're now starting to cross channels because 2016 is when I started Hilltree, and then pandemic hit. So you got to think I was a one-man show for a long time, and the pandemic hit, and guess what happened? The opposite of what I thought was going to happen. I was like, well, there goes my business. You had a surge of people saying, hey, I don't have a website. Hey, I don't have a social media presence. I don't have a digital footprint.
I need to connect.
Help me because none of my clients can reach me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. And I'm talking about a massive surge to the point where I'm sitting around saying, I don't know what to, like, I'm starting to turn down work. And then I had these wedding photographers, these professional photographers, a videographer, graphic designer, IT specialist, like all their stuff shut down. So then,
Well, aren't you lucky?
yeah, I was very lucky, very lucky. So out of the pandemic,
All of mine went away. Okay.
yeah, out of the pandemic
there.
burst what I call like the Hilltree Collective unit. Like okay, we were a group,
Creative collective.
and I was like, once y'all's venues start opening back up, a couple was a church, when weddings start back up, we can go back to our own thing. And then I realized, no, I can't do this without people.
Yeah.
And since then we've just been rocking and rolling until it stops.
I don't know if you'll share your business model, which that might be too personal, but I just want to say I love your business model. I love the way you're forming a team for yourself and through subcontracting.
Yeah,
And
I always
it
tell
keeps
people.
it real simple, and it keeps everybody invested with all the projects. So
Yep. So it's real quick. It's a subscription-based model to where you can subscribe to marketing, just like you can subscribe to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
You pay, you get marketing services for the month, and it's up to you have different packages. We have ABC, and A is like the lower tier. C is like you get everything, and then what we do is it's profit sharing. So it's like throughout each project, we're profit sharing. So it keeps everybody invested in each product. So you're not just making a base pay and it's like, you can sit back and twiddle your thumbs. Like you want the retain the business, you got to do the work. So,
Right.
and it's worked so far.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love it. I think it's super smart.
And it all came out because I was like, you know what? Netflix is a cool model. And like my graphic designer, he was like, do a subscription. I was like,
Yeah, don't
nobody's doing that. It's 2020. I was like, subscribe to marketing. I
That's
like
cool.
that.
That's
I like
really
that.
great.
Yeah, there's no reason in reinventing the wheel.
Exactly.
I love it.
So y'all both live in Ocean Springs, and we always have something going on in here. Projects, people investing, the health system is building their workforce building. So what would you like to see as residents, not necessarily people that work here, but residents? What would you like to see Ocean Springs have? Like, what are we missing? What is the thing?
Go first.
I think y'all need more videos.
In dictatorship.
Kenny.
Wow. I'll tell you this. I mean, I would have to think about that a little bit longer, but the route that I'm seeing it go is kind of what I would be hoping for, because it always seemed like growing up here and with my grandmother and my, the older generation who's not with us anymore. But I mean, seeing what it's become, especially in the past 4 or 5 years. Wow. It's just, I'm seeing it expand and grow, and it almost into a point where I went to my honeymoon in St. Augustine in Savannah, Georgia. And of course we did we went to Richmond all the way up to Cape Cod. Like me and my wife, we traveled before we had kids. I mean, we still travel, but now it's more like Disney and things like that. But now I'm starting to see Ocean Springs be that destination of like, hey, I want my honeymoon to be in Ocean Springs. Like, to me, that's when you're starting to make a footprint, because I don't want to go, I don't like really like the, what do you call it, sandals, and all, I'm sure my wife
Yeah,
does,
resorts.
but I'm not that type of person.
Yeah,
I like to like go in there, let's learn the history, like
Wait,
St.
you
Augustine.
don't like to drink out of coconuts?
Oh, I'm sure.
I bet you could get one down here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Go to Mosaics.
So that's what we need. We need Kenny. We need more coconut trees. But yeah, so to me, what Ocean Springs is becoming, and that's why I want to be cemented into this community. 'Cause
As you raise a family here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm a homebody.
I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, so we have this double-edged sword, right? So people are like, we got to keep our small town charm. Don't let anybody know what we have. Don't let these outsiders in. And then you have us who is like pushing, Ocean Springs is the place to be. Come and put your business here, raise your family here. You want your doctors to come here and live here. So, we don't have, the casinos. We don't have, that kind of industry here in Ocean Springs. I mean, it's in Jackson County. I mean, there's industry in Jackson County, but so what do you think attracts people here?
Well, growing up in Mobile, I mean, our destination was Fairhope. Like that's
Right.
where my parents took us, and that's how I went to I got my bachelor's at Jacksonville University in Jacksonville, Florida. So I lived in St. Augustine. So it's just beautiful place.
It is.
And so it reminds me a lot of both of those places. And I think that we're kind of, standing on the edge of a knife about, do we do we keep the small town charm, which I think like Fairhope was able to do, St. Augustine was able to do, and still grow their arts, their music, their food, that vibe. But how do you do that and not like oversaturate? And so it's not that place where people want to come and invest. And so I mean, I think you have to keep a balance, because you do have the New Orleans and you have the Biloxi right next. So I think they can get there close enough, and it's just, managing the expectations of who you want in your city.
Yeah.
And I have a 5 and 7-year-old, and so I want to be able to walk, around and
Safely.
safely. Yeah.
And find activity on your way, like the new.
Yeah.
Well, not that 5 and 7-year-olds would be on the exercise equipment, but
They might be.
I have seen them on.
The beaches are amazing. And so I think you can still be innovative and grow and not have to be a New Orleans or a Biloxi or a Mobile. You can be the Fairhopes and the St. Augustines. And I do think that that's like just a different vibe.
Yeah, if you were the New Orleans, I'd leave. I can't do. That's one thing I've learned as I'm getting older, that the crowds, that city, I can visit it for a day, maybe two, but I'm ready to go back to Ocean Springs. Like, I like and I know we want to grow. We're not always going to be a small town. I mean, you look 100 years from now, what is Ocean Springs going to be? Like, it's going to be very interesting to see how it expands. But, I think the route that they're going, they're still keeping that small town charm, but they also understand. And I mean, I'm hearing all these things that we're saying. We just got done filming the State of the City, so a lot of these things I've just poured myself in editing wise, but I'm hearing all the words from everybody, and it makes total sense. And what's cool is everybody is like parallel, like they're on the same track. Nobody was like, we should do A or we should do B. It was like everybody was on that A train. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you mentioned the word balance, and it got me thinking. It would be amazing to hear when you wake up, what does your day look like, and how do you find balance throughout your day? Like, what's your first few decisions, and how do you go about getting through your work day and then getting home and still being as good of who you are at work as who you need to be at home? So, anybody?
Yeah, mine is a very sad situation. No, I'm just kidding.
I wake up and I cry, and then I go to work and I lock myself up and I cry some more.
I mean, to be honest, Oliver's my husband. We wake up very, very early. I check my emails. I run in the mornings just so I can kind of get recentered. People are like, "Oh, that's really healthy," and it has nothing to do with like physicality. It's mental for me. It's just to kind of deep breathe for 30 minutes and come back, and again 5 and 7 I try to get them out the door as much as possible, but I usually have to, but it's usually on Oliver. I mean, I'm telling you, if I didn't have a husband that pretty much did all of those things, I would never be able to get to work at 7 o'clock in the morning and start making those big decisions. And so I usually then my day is like, this week has been nuts, so it's like 6 to 7 at night and things like that. But when I get home, we all try to eat together. That's like a really important thing for me.
Yeah.
The kids may have already eaten dinner, but I'm like, just like saying
Sit
a
with
blessing,
me. Yeah.
and they can eat, veggie strips or whatever that they're eating. And, I think and then Oliver and I try to have some time with each other, and then I go back to emails before I go to bed. Yeah. I mean, the balance is hard. And I know that, it's just as hard for a father and a husband, but the pressure of like, I try to take my kids to school at least once a week. I try to pick them up once a week. Yeah. Harry's in jiu-jitsu now, so I try to get to see him one time, like every other week or something. It's just that pull of making sure you do all of that.
Yeah, and being intentional.
Yes.
About it,
and knowing that I can't do everything.
Yeah.
I think that's
I love that. I love that you make. So when I came back to the city, Glenn, my husband, was taking my son to school and picking him up because they're in Gulfport. I'm in Ocean Springs. It just made sense. And I was like, I am never seeing my child, like spending that time with him. So now I take him to school in the morning, and Glenn picks him up, because it's harder for me to leave at the end of the day than it is to, on my way in. And so I just love that. It's great advice, Tiffany.
We're all doing it.
So, Josie, you wake up in the morning. How do you start your day? How do you start thinking through how to delegate to your team? What's it look like in the morning with your family?
It depends on what project I'm on at the time. Some projects are clockwork. Some projects are, massive projects that, as we get closer to the deadline, I'm staying up later hours, things like that. But lately what's really cool is my wife is a teacher at Lighthouse Academy for Dyslexia in Ocean Springs. And she has to be at work 7:15. My daughter, she is 5. My son is 2. My son is watched by my mother-in-law. Thank God.
And she comes over, or you drop her off?
She comes over.
Oh my God,
That's
that's
nice.
That's even
It's
neater.
nice. She's a huge blessing for our family. And then I take my daughter usually to school. Sometimes Stephanie will do it if she can, get her up. And my daughter's like me, like crawling out of the bed, like frustrated, having to put clothes. All that. So, anyways, it's a balance that I'm learning as I go, because if I didn't have a wife that was like, hey, you gotta spend more time. If she just didn't care, I would be a workaholic. I would work 24 hours, because that's what happens when you're in business for yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But one thing I've learned, this is another thing that we've been doing at night. We've actually started doing puzzles. So we'll buy like Disney puzzles. We'll do it as a family, because she's 5. My daughter's 5, so she's like into that. But putting our phone on the phone charger for about 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, I love it.
So we get home, and usually we're caught in the act of just like, just kind of sitting there.
Scrolling
And then we're
and
just
stuff,
like, let's go put our phone on the charger. So I'll take her phone, I'll take my phone, we'll put it on the charger, and we'll just sit there. Won't even, if we have the TV on, it's like some Disney thing or whatever. My daughter loves that stuff. But that has really gotten us to like have deeper conversations. It's crazy what those phones will do. Like you're on that phone, you're just scrolling.
24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll sit there and now like Steph and I, we're talking so much deep, like those hours that we do that, it's a deeper conversation versus how was your day? Cool. Sky was blue. See that rain out there? And now it's more
Did
like,
you see that rain
yeah,
out there?
yeah. It's like more like, hey, what are our goals for the next year and 5 years? What do you want to do around our
Those
house?
are some intense
You know,
conversations.
yeah, like,
I
hey,
was
love
thinking
that.
y'all were flirting or something.
yeah, no, we'll flirt
Well, that
too.
is kind of flirty.
Yeah, we'll flirt,
What's
you know.
going on in 5 years?
What's our goal?
You want another
that
baby?
is-
Like, what's going on?
That is pretty sexy. What am I even saying?
Let's go. No, but she, like we'll talk about vacations and things like that. And that gets me all excited because like, I like to look forward to the, I'm ready to get to that next thing. But then also I'm learning this too. The more I'm rushing to those next things, the more like the faster they're growing up.
I know.
And gosh, it goes fast. All the older people in my life was like, it goes by fast. I'm like, sure, I'm getting no sleep. I want to get them out of this infant stage. And now
Right.
we're out of that infant stage. We're in that cute, almost 2-year-old stage. But then I'm looking at my daughter, who's 5 years old. I'm like, she just had a normal conversation with me. Like,
Right.
what happened?
Right? And
Lily
your son's
turns
5.
yes, and Lily turned 7 this past year. I mean, they are like little humans.
Yeah,
like,
and
which is-
Benjamin's 4. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
know.
How'd you learn that sentence?
Yeah. Well, she said something to me. Oh, I'm not gonna pause the whole podcast for this, but it'll come to me. But it was like, wow. No, you know what it was? She no, but it'll come to me. Continue.
So glad that it happens to other people.
Yeah. Always.
I had a question.
How do you
What is happening on that side of the
how about
table?
this? How about I ask
The
y'all?
Mercury is
So,
moving into. I'm just kidding.
We're talking about balance, work life, home life balance. How do you found balance?
Yeah.
Both of you. How about that?
Oh, that's what I was asking you guys. I'm trying to figure it out.
Raven?
Yeah, I don't even have any kids, so
I know.
what's my excuse?
Hey, but there's a lot of people without kids watching the show, and they want to hear, maybe
Yeah.
what you have, because they're all like probably listening to us and be like, well, they don't relate to me, but
Yeah.
Right.
maybe you do.
Yeah. Is this to me or Raven?
This is to both of you.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead. You go first.
So I wake up. Okay, let me just
Moment I
preface
wake
this.
I put bread in the toaster. No.
Yeah. Let me just preface this with I just got through with a month of Ramadan. No, I'm not fully Muslim. My dad's Muslim, my mom's Christian, and I just take from certain traditions that mean something to me and my family and practice them. And
Oliver
there's
cool.
did the full Ramadan this
yes,
year.
and I was very proud of Oliver
Yes.
for that.
Yes.
So maybe you can even recognize it's
Oh.
some of the things I'm about to say. It's very hard to change your habits. So I'm really proud of you, number one, for changing some of the habits that you've made with your wife just on your own without it being like, okay, it's the new year. I've got all these new goals. You know, it's not like that. It's like you guys recognize something and you made a decision to change that habit. And that's very hard for most people to do. So good for you guys. So Ramadan forces you to do that, whether you want it or not.
And your family.
And your family. Yeah. And everyone around you. Sorry, everybody. But,
what it does is it makes you wake up very early because you have to eat something before the sun comes up. And that time, I forget after a year, my schedule's different. And then I get back into Ramadan, and I had to prepare this year because it was very shocking to me last year. So I started waking up earlier before Ramadan started. And that time with yourself is everything. So you get up and you run and you check your emails, and you just have that time for yourself, that 30 minutes to breathe and take it all in. I fully understand that. So I wake up in the morning, and Ramadan has reminded me to do this again. But I spend 2 hours with myself before people are coming at me all day. And my job, I don't understand it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not really that important, but people blow me up all day. And it is intense. It's intense. It brings out things in you that you're like, you got to get it. You got to keep it together. You got to stay calm. You got to learn how to delegate. You got to maintain your schedule to help maintain their schedules. It's a huge responsibility being a leader in whatever field that is. So I get up and have that 2 hours with myself. I exercise, I meditate, I have my coffee, I love on my puppy dogs, I listen to music. It's pretty simple. That's like my routine. And then I come into work, and I try to just let everybody do their thing first. And we check in with each other inside the hour. And then that way everyone gets to check their emails. Most days I don't get to check my emails. I don't know what happens. It's like a maintenance guy will be sitting there waiting on me as I'm coming into work, or like my staff likes to follow me sometimes up the staircase asking me a lot of questions. And like, they're great. Everyone's great. Everyone's doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, but it's about, turning around and communicating what you need to keep your sanity, right? So yeah, there's definitely like a routine throughout the week that I know now I need. And again, Ramadan reminds me of that. A lot of change has happened in my life in the last couple years. And so I'm just like, okay, I got to make everything easier for solo me, and how to maintain 2 dogs and keep a house by myself, and keep all my things going at work where everyone's happy. And, it is a constant check-in. It really, truly is. But I've learned that not one thing fills my cup. And not one person, besides my self-love, not one person can be enough for what I think I need for my balance in life. So I definitely make sure to invest my time into the people that are not just feeding me, but that's super important, that you are surrounding yourself with people who's feeding you, but that you love, and they're your family, whether they're blood or not, you know? And making sure even the people I'm working with, keeping a professional relationship, but a thoughtful, loving relationship where you're also checking in with them. This is the last thing I'll say. It's actually a very cute moment. At State of the City, I was asked by my lovely friend Ravin to open up the State of the City and give a 5-minute speech, welcome speech, and it was really beautiful, and I was very appreciative, and I felt like it connected with everyone. But I was feeling kind of nervous, and I was acting like I wasn't, but then I was. And I sat next to the mayor on stage, and I was going to welcome it, and then he was going to give the whole presentation. And he looked at me and he was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "You want to do a breathing exercise?" And he goes, "Yeah." And we both just breathed in 3 times real heavily, and then breathed out, and just looked at each other and we're like, "All right, we're good." And I swear it helped so much to be able to just have that relationship with him where we can know we're only human. And we do need that connection to do the things that we do that seem so big, like being leaders and things. Yeah. So it's that balance of maintaining yourself and then maintaining your relationships, and also getting a lot of sleep. Sleep is everything.
I got to get to that one.
Yeah. And I don't have kids, so I really,
well, it's not even the kids that my mind races so much at night, because it's literally the only time that I have by myself.
Yeah.
And so then I start, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I forgot all these things.
But I agree with you. Sleep is probably, I listen to the Bobby Bone show, and he's always talking about sleep and how much that can really change your life, because he couldn't sleep for a really long time. And But that's why I run in the mornings, because it
Tires you out a little bit.
yes, calms me down,
Yeah.
tires
Yeah.
me. So
What about you, Raven?
What's the question?
Balance. How do you find
Like,
how do you
work-life
start your day?
balance?
Well, like it's also about like your routine. Like how you
Yeah.
know, routine is everything.
So I think this year I've been trying to be really intentional about my balance. There's a lot of things that I've kind of taken myself out of. So I was in junior auxiliary of Gulfport. I was on the board. I have taken myself out of it because the time, like I'm just thinking about time with Benjamin, time with work, and then I own an event business, which I'm scaling back. And so when I wake up in the morning, after I've hit my alarm at least 3 times,
Yeah.
it starts at 5:30,
Yes.
and I usually roll out of bed at 6, and I check emails. I have 2 phones, so I'm checking my personal and my city phone, and checking our social media just to make sure no one has, I don't know, threatened the city or something awful that I need to address. And I just kind of, I mean, in the morning, I've been intentional about listening to music and kind of trying to get out of my head. My thoughts race constantly, and so when I feel tired, like I'm just tired of thinking or like tired of making decisions. You're like, I will binge watch Netflix.
There
oh my
you
God,
go.
I'm watching
The
90210 right now, like the old 90210.
Exactly.
Nice.
And I'll watch, like Laguna Beach, or I'll
Sex
watch
in the City.
Sex in the City. I've watched that, or
True
some
Blood.
like
Yes,
trash
that's a good one.
TV where I don't have to think. Like it's
Housewives.
just entertainment for me to laugh, and it's like a good, I don't know, 1-2 hour. I will try. I'm not going to touch an iPad. I'm not going to touch a phone. My phone ends up back in my hand, but like I'm trying to not be in my head about
Disconnect.
what else is going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a type of balance. I find myself being consumed in my job, just because, I have my own tasks, but one of my biggest tasks is to make sure the mayor's on task. So like, reminding him what to wear. That's
Yeah.
my favorite
Or
thing.
say.
or say, or don't forget. So,
To smile.
last weekend, Earth Day here, yes, I put it on his calendar, but I still text him, don't forget you have to go to Earth Day today because you're welcoming all these people. Like,
I did that too because I got your back.
and, I mean, it's the thoughts that never end. And so I definitely binge watch Netflix. Music is a big thing. I do scroll on TikTok and look for recipes to cook that I'm never going to cook because I'm never at home to cook in the kitchen.
That
But
is
they're great.
hilarious. I've never seen you cook.
But you do scroll on TikTok a lot now for our little workout sessions.
Exactly.
Which I love. Very
So,
helpful.
Very helpful. I found a cat video the other day to show your assistant cat. Like, just connect with people. I mean, it's great. But the balance for me has been difficult, and I recognize it.
Yeah.
And I recognize where I need to fill my own cup more so I can be there for the mayor, be there for Benjamin, be there for all the people around me.
Be there for you first, though.
Yeah. Put my oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I think that's very realistic. We're talking like, oh, this is what we do and this is how we maintain, but it's a constant thing where you have to remind yourself, don't forget, take some time for yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
it isn't easy, especially when certain busy seasons come and you just know, like,
Yeah.
your priorities are going to be work, but if you let everything else go to the wayside as the leader, there's repercussions.
You know what I miss? As we're talking, because the phone came up a while. And I'll tell my wife all this, and she's like, oh, you're ridiculous. And it's really weird, but home phones.
Oh.
I know.
I saw, watching 90210, they have home phones. Because
it's
it's
like-
and it's like, oh, and the sound.
Yeah.
It's like they'll, you get a call today, and it's like, hey, I'm busy, or I'm eating lunch, or, I'm talking with my son or my daughter. Like, but you have this important call. And it's like they know you got the phone because you're always on the phone.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, don't you wish you were like, had a home phone, but like, I'm not at home.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's one of those things I've always tell, if I get a lot of calls, like 20 or 30 calls a day for different requests, which could be a good thing or it could be like a damage control thing.
Right.
But it's like, man, I wish I just had a home phone so I can just go drive.
So
But
and put it away. It has a place. You're not the place for the
Exactly.
phone anymore. you
exactly.
know?
So, anyways, the phones are great for business,
Yeah.
and they're great for entertainment, communication, of course. But also, I've learned if you put that phone on the charger for 2 or 3 hours at 5 o'clock, so nobody can say, because that's when you.
That just made me very anxious.
It did me too. Well, and I mean, at the hospital, it's 24/7. So I mean, like,
Yeah.
when you have shootings in the middle of the night, or if you have
Yeah.
something
Lord.
happen to a,
See, that's a little more pressure than just somebody's website going down, or like hey, you're missing a comma on this description. Like, come on, man. Like, to me, that's pressure. Yours is on a totally different like galaxy.
well, I mean, we, talking about phones and mental health and all of these expectations we put on ourselves, and we had someone come in and pull a gun on one of our employees, and if I don't have my phone on me, I feel responsible, and so there's like this pull between me and the role that I've chosen
Wow.
to take. And
So how accessible do you guys have to be in your day-to-day? Is there a boundary like already like noted with your staff, or do you pretty much have to be on call 24/7?
I mean, I think that they respect the boundaries of this isn't, they know what's important and what's not,
Yeah.
but they also know that I'm available 24 hours a day. If there's something that extreme, I mean, just from a political standpoint and from a well-being, health and well-being standpoint of the employees. I mean, so when storms come through, I wake up at 4:00 in the morning, I'm like, okay, are windows out, or is the water, when Pascagoula, when the water went down,
Oh, yeah.
I was headed out of town, and I was like, well, I know that if it doesn't come back on, I'm not going to be able to leave tomorrow type situation. So there's just some expectation. But we have an understanding of what's emergent and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys have the roles of being the boss. So you have different categories of things that you have to always follow up on with each staff member or each like section within the hospital. How do you delegate that throughout your day? Or is it weekly? Do you really focus on one section of the hospital?
Oh, it's daily, I think. I mean, so we have different individuals that are responsible for service lines, and leaders. So there's about 12 on the senior team. I think there's like 10 on the executive team, but there's 200 leaders, and so I really delegate to my 10 senior, my 10 on that sit on the executive team, my chiefs, and it's pretty much daily. I mean, I do it via email and calendar. I live off my calendar. My assistant Jackie she's my lifeline to the world. She says yes and no. She says, what can I do? What can I not do? And then I kind of delegate off my calendar and via email, because I know that I can't. No, I am CC'd on everything, but I have a really chaotic, organized way of doing my email. I have if you went to my computer, I have 17,000 icons because I save everything to my desktop.
Me too.
Oh gosh.
Desktop crew, baby.
Yes.
Desktop crew.
Because I'm like, why do you need all those folders? Like, I know where this is, or I can just search it off of my desktop. And then my email too, I have 17,000 folders. But I just delete it and look in my deleted folder right then.
Oh my God. This is giving me anxiety right now.
So,
I feel it.
people will look at my I'll get somebody with a meeting, and I'm actually sometimes I don't want them to see my screen because it will tell them the type of person I am. They might not hire me. They'll be like, this guy is just all over the place. Let's move on. So I'm always
so
keeping
true.
it.
I do save everything to my desktop, and my laptop was acting crazy this week. And our IT lady came in and she was like, I think your laptop is about to go out. I said, well, I can't do that today because everything's on my desktop. She's like, well, you need to take that over, right? I was like, immediately I put it in some folders, and it just says Raven's desktop with the dates as of.
Yes.
My CIO, every time he sees it, he's like so shameful, and I'm like, I can't help it.
It's easier.
It is.
So talking about work-life balance and, kind of how we do our day, what do you like to do for fun? And fun specifically in Ocean Springs. But what do you like to do for fun here?
I love to ride bikes. Like the kids can ride bikes without training wheels now, and so we live like
that's cool.
down
Next
by
level.
Yes,
Next
so we live down by East Beach, so it's fun to like kind of do that. We love coming downtown. It's just probably, I mean, like we came down last night and ate at Mason DeLue, and I mean, really, we play on the parks.
Yeah.
We go to the event. So, this, weekend there's events that we'll be coming to.
Yay.
We have the Heart Walk in Jackson County. So there's always just something to do. And we spend it outside as much as humanly possible because I'm inside all day.
Yeah.
And so we try to do as much outside as possible. And then Oliver and I, we have Fridays where they go to their pawpaws who just, he was at the Inlet and bought a house. Out it's in Ocean Springs as well. We moved him over from Mobile, so he's now in Ocean Spring. But he goes Friday nights. My kids go Friday nights to his house, and we have date night.
Oh,
There you go.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yes,
Date night.
yes,
Important.
it's
Is that
important.
your favorite?
When we get one, yes. I'm right there. Like when I hear date night there, I'm like, oh, where?
What is that?
No, for fun, kids, hanging out with the kids, date night. If we can get a date night, and I have a great support system from my side. She has a great support system from her side, so they're always, can I watch the kids? Sure.
We have one, and I'm like, Dad, you're
See,
surrogate right there.
whenever I like complain or she complains, I'll look at her and be like, think about how blessed we are, because we have friends who have 2 or 3 kids and their family's like in Colorado. I'm like, how do you do it?
Right.
And their family's like down the road, but still can't watch
Yeah,
all 3
like
kids.
my family's like my mom and dad are like 2 roads down, and it's like, Ma. No, but then also I sing, so I'm a singer. That's my other job. It's my other
I saw
life.
that. You're really good.
Thank you.
I looked at.
Thank you. It's like a jazz thing. I had Hotel Legends, Scarlet Pearl, and that's become kind of like my therapy away from work. It's work and it actually pays really well.
Well, it's gotta be, because how the heck you have time for it blows my mind.
But it's like something I've been doing since I was 14. So it'll be like this weekend I have no gigs, and you can ask my wife. It'll be Friday or Saturday, and I'm like, I'm checking my phone, or my what am I missing something?
Yeah.
And mentally, it's like, this does not feel right when I see that 6 o'clock hit when I'm usually starting a gig. I'm kind of like, I'm waiting for the call, like you forgot something. And I've never done that, but I'm like, man, it just feels weird. But this weekend, I know I have no gigs, and I know I want to do a date night.
That's
usual.
awesome.
You can just do like usual and take advantage of the hallways. He's always singing down the hallways.
I don't know I'm doing it though. That's the problem. We'll be walking in a Target, and like in my mind, I'm like, walking in a Target, but I'm really going walking in. I'm like shouting at my wife's like, Jesse, you've got to stop. Just get the basket. And stop. I'm like, what? I'm not
If
making.
I would do that, they would like arrest me.
I didn't realize that.
Someone just hit me.
Then I get an email, CEO, arrested motion
For singing.
Gotta love this small town.
That's right.
I'm always fearful of ending up in the newspaper somewhere.
Our date night is the crawfish thing for the education on Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Tomorrow night.
Oh, really?
The
God,
Ocean
tomorrow's
Springs
Friday.
Education Foundation crawfish cornhole competition.
Cornhole.
Oh,
Yeah.
I need some crawfish.
Yeah. That's a date night.
You might have to get an in through me, because tickets stop selling
Nuts.
this morning.
See,
I
a
have
date night
2.
for me is.
I have
But see, a date night for me though is like early. Not I don't do crowds. Like I don't like crowds. So like if we go, like we'll go to Half Shell, or like we'll go to or somewhere down here.
Oh, we eat dinner at 5 o'clock if on a
See,
date
I'm
night.
I'm a 5 o'clock, and I'm getting there, and I'm seeing all my, the people who come and see me because I sing Sinatra, so they're usually older. So I'm like, what's up, Martha? It's good to see you. And then by the time we're leaving, it's like all these young people like waiting for like,
Yes.
it's
DJ.
an 80-minute wait. Okay, I'll wait. I'm like,
Oh no, service is amazing. Like that, we
Oh,
went
yeah.
to Mason Louis yesterday at like 5 o'clock. I was like, "Do you have a table?" Ha ha ha. There's like 8,000 tables.
that's right. That's right.
Right.
That's right. Oh gosh, see, same level.
I love
I
it.
love it. Well, I have to ask, Jesse, how has your experience been with being a partner at the Mary C?
It's actually been really, really fulfilling. It's one of those things. I was actually singing a gig downstairs for Viking. Remember that little
Yeah.
event?
That was a year ago.
That was for the
That Mississippi Municipal League's
That's
conference.
right. And so I'm singing, and y'all both were there. I think it's the first time you maybe seen what I do. And so I was
Yeah.
like,
Singing wise, yeah.
singing wise, and I was like, I really want to start a podcast based off business, based off music. And then Raven said the same thing. She's like, well, City wants a podcast. And I have the gear, like all this gear, but I was like, I don't have the space. And I told my wife I wanted to start a podcast. She was like, I don't want strangers in my house to know. Okay. It's like, okay, maybe we could do it remotely or whatever.
This is really all because of your wife.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So my wife's like, no. So then I team up with my wife's cousin, Melissa. She is a very successful network marketer, and she also owns Social Collective Co. She kind of does what I do, but on a bigger scale. And so she furnished it. I checked it out with the permission of the city and the Mary C, of course. And then it's been great because I got a place to come to. You got to imagine all this equipment was in my house. Like,
Yeah.
Gosh.
my wife is about to pull her hair out,
Yeah.
And now we have this space, but also the space is not just for Hilltree.
Yeah, it's not
This-
just self-serving.
No, this
Exactly.
space is for anybody who wants to start a podcast, or somebody who wants to use the natural light pouring in the windows as a videographer, photographer, or if somebody wants to record a song.
It's a great studio.
It is, and we're getting the word out, especially through this show, of come host your podcast here. If you can't, if you don't have the space, and if you don't want to invest in all the tech and learn all the software you got to use, like, come to us.
Yeah.
So it's very affordable.
One of the visions for this podcast is us talking about the bigger picture. So what it means for Ocean Springs, progressing and growing. And, the city couldn't do anything without partners. So, we partner with Hilltree to do all our, our State of the City. We do our Springs video photography. The Mary C is under the city, but it's more like a partner. It's our cultural arm. And then the health system, the hospital, is a very important partner to us. And so, Tiffany, tell us a little bit about partnerships from your perspective and what that means to you. I love being able to just call Tiffany or Shannon or Georgia at the health system and say, hey, I need these things. You're like, we got it. And, or we're coming, or, that is so important to me. So tell us about how that feels for you.
I think it's probably the most important thing that we do. I mean, I tell people all the time, access is the number one thing that a health system should be focused on. And our mission is to improve, health for the communities that we serve. So, improve health and save lives. And I think through COVID, we were really able to show that we were doing that, because people just assumed, okay, we can go to the hospital. Of course, you're going to get taken care of. But doing, the vaccinations, people having to call and come in and be like, oh my God, what do we need to do about masking?
Right.
And then even to now, we do all of the healthcare for Ocean Springs School District.
Yeah.
We're going to start doing it for Long Beach School District, I think, in the future. And I think it's just, how do we take care of our kids? How do we make people more healthy? How do we let them know that the ER doesn't have to be their only access or their door to healthcare? Let us be a part of that. And if you're ever thinking about industry or people coming into your community, that, really the first two things that are literally on the checklist are, what is your healthcare statistics and what are your schools?
Yep.
And so I think from an economic standpoint, yes, we give healthcare, but I think we're really important from an economic standpoint as well, because if you don't have access, if you have a 6-week wait at all of your clinics, if you are not providing services to the underserved. There's just so many things, and it's a passion of mine. My doctorate is in public health, and it's really important that we get out and kind of tell people and show people how to take care of themselves.
So how do y'all accomplish that? How do y'all go into those communities that are underserved, or maybe there's some kind of there is an access barrier there, whether they don't feel like they can say anything or come? How are y'all accomplishing those goals?
Dr. Edney, who was the Dr. Hobbs for during the COVID, but he is actually from the Department of Health for the state, and he has come down and had conversation with us just about access in general. So how is the Department of Health working, and how do you collaborate with those individuals? One Mayor Knight, who's phenomenal in Moss Point, we've kind of done an assessment of the population, and we've noticed that a lot of the lower level, what we consider level 4s and 5s, which are like headaches or different colds, viruses, things like that, coming through the ED or coming in Pascagoula from a specific zip code.
Right.
And so we do zip code analysis and say, okay, so that tells me that the only access they have to almost primary care or preventative care is our ER. Right. We need to probably have a clinic in that zip code in Moss Point. And so we do analysis, speak to the local delegation to have conversations, the Department of Health. I mean, from a STD standpoint, or a mental health for kids, where I did a podcast with Ricky Matthews and Paige Roberts about mental health and what's going on with our kids, and really us just trying to say, okay, we need to do a summit. We need to get a task force together from Hancock to Pascagoula and say, what is going on right now? What can we do? How can the health system be the conduit to provide the services? But we need people, and so I just think it's getting out, asking the questions, doing the data dives, and then making strategic, not just trying to throw everything at the wall,
right?
Making strategic decisions about these concerns.
Yeah, I love it. I love the education piece, because not only even listening to you right here, I'm taking nuggets, because I feel like as a city, we're also your advocate too.
Yes.
So whatever information you give us, we're regurgitating it back to the public, back to the people that need to listen. And so I love it.
Especially with your new job title.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay, you guys, we are out of time today. Believe it or not, it went by very fast. Thank you so much for being amazing guests and amazing leaders in Ocean Springs. Thanks for sharing with us. I know we talked about some personal things, but that's important for people to connect with us and see that we're just having a normal conversation. And but anyways, I wanted to say thank you, and I hope to have you on again one day.
Yeah. We might have a party at the end of our season.
Ooh, I like
yes.
that.
Yes.
Jackson Pearl. Jackson Pearl. Okay.
Rosé.
Okay. And until next time, we are City Culture. Thank you.